Hello. I'm so excited to be live. I'm hoping that some of you guys are going to be joining me. I'm prepared to do some little hair tutorials if you so choose, or ask me any questions you want. I've been in the beauty industry for a really long time. Stylist, salon owner, mentor. So I was so excited that everybody enjoyed that one simple
People are in use, bro. We all want to go live.
Shut up, Kava. Hi.
Is that Sierra?
Okay.
No.
No. So yeah, any questions that you have? I was like so excited that people enjoyed that simple braid tutorial that I did, and looking to make a ton more. You know, this is what I do. Been an educator and consultant. You know, so I just like to be an everyday person and a go-to person for the hair things. So let's see if anybody else is going to hop on here. Hi. Thanks for joining us. I know a lot of people asked about a fishtail braid. Oh, it's Sasha. Hi, Sasha. I was wondering who that was. What kind of braid do you want to see, Sash? I don't have many people on here, so I can cater to every demand right now. Let's start with a fishtail. We'll just do a quick fishtail. I'm not going to stay on here too long if nobody's joining in. There's no point, but I know a lot of people asked about the fishtail, so let's do a quick one of those. I'm not even going to ponytail it first. So for the fishtail, and excuse my glasses, I know I don't usually have them on in my videos, but I can't really read any of the questions or comments that I get if I don't have them. That's the old in me. So separate your hair into two strands. You can pony it first, but you're just going to take two sections, and all you're going to do is literally take a sliver from the outside. For me, when I'm doing it on myself, I find it easiest to use my thumbs and then just flip it over and grab it to the left side. Take a little section, flip it over, and hold it in the opposite side. Outside section, in, outside section, in. And if you kind of like drag it down a little bit like that, you start to see the fishtail look. But after I get all the way down the strand and I start to loosen it up a little bit, that's when it's really going to look pretty. When you put it in, I always like to put it in a little bit tight so that I know it's not going anywhere. But when you do that, it almost can look kind of like a regular braid. You know, it doesn't really look like much. But once we get down to the bottom, I could totally do a French braid. Do you want to see both French and Dutch, or just French? I can do them both. A Dutch braid is basically a French braid anyway. It's just, like, we always used to call it an inside-out French braid, because technically a French braid, when you do it, it lies flat. Just French, okay. Technically, when you do a French braid, it lies kind of flat. But when you do a Dutch braid, I imagine it's more like what they make cornrows out of. Although, you know, I'm not really totally familiar with that. I've had people ask me to do cornrows on them, and my fingers just don't work like that. I can't make those teeny tiny braids, but I would imagine cornrows are just teeny little Dutch braids. So you can see I'm starting to loosen it up a little bit. And just I do this before I ponytail the bottom, because if these are all bound in here really tight, you're not going to really be able to fan it out nicely, and it gets kind of like messed up. So you just start pulling. And in my hair before I did this, I really didn't have too much product. I mean, I shampooed my hair last night and I set it in rope braids to go to sleep. And before I put the rope braids in, I put smoother in it with a little bit of serum and a little bit of the Hot Sexy spray. It's a heat protectant really, but it's like a light hairspray. So I like to mix it with my smoother if I'm going to put braids or something to sleep in, because it just helps it take the style a little bit better without getting like totally crunchy. But you can see how that fishtail, it really comes pretty, and you can do so much with this. Most of my braids, like when you see them on my page, you're going to see mostly side braids, because to be quite honest, my hair is pretty long. I mean, it's not super long, but the layers are like almost out. It's like all one length basically. So for me to like do my hair back here, I have to like basically do a back bend, and I can't do it. All right. So, oh, thank you. Thanks. My hair color is really pretty. I just actually touched it up this week, and last night I put a little bit of a rose gold color in it. I love to use the color conditioners because you can play with them so much. Last week with the actual braid thing, the one that went crazy and a lot of people saw, I had put a purple conditioner in there, so it was quite purple. Most of that's faded out, so now I'm using Redken just came out with these color conditioners, so I use the rose gold. Thank you so much. All right, so for the French braid, I don't know if you want to see the French braid like in the top of your head or on the side, but some people look better with bangs. I mean, if you have a high forehead, you know, it's particularly helpful to have the bangs, but you know, just sometimes with the style, like right now the curtain bangs are like super popular, so I've been doing those like crazy. I don't do a lot of like the real super trendy short baby bangs. Most of my clients are like, they look for like a softer look. Most of my clients are basically between the 30s and 50s, I would say. I do have several clients, you know, teens and 20s, and a handful of clients that are older. But so for the age range that I deal with, a lot of the girls, like they're starting to get wrinkles and stuff. So they'll do like a side bang, or like I said, now I've been doing a lot of the curtain bangs, which are really, really pretty. The thing with bangs is if you do the bangs, it's a commitment. So you know, you can stretch it out. If you do something like a curtain bang, you know, you start out with it a little bit shorter out of your eyes and let it droop down. And then as it grows, you can do more of like a side swept bang. So that would like save you a little time from like when you have to go to the salon. But bangs are definitely a commitment. All right, so let's do a French braid here. I'm just taking a small section of hair. I take it in a triangular, kind of like a triangular section, and we're gonna split it in 3. So traditional French braid, outside over to the middle, and then the middle comes where that piece was. The other side over to the middle, and then the middle comes where that piece was. And just repeat the process. But now when you flip the outside piece to the middle, you're going to take a small sliver from what was underneath there. And that all goes to the middle now. And then you flip the other side. So now this section right here, if you were doing a regular braid, would just be over, over, over. But we're going to take a little sliver of hair, add it in, and hold the hair tight, because otherwise you're going to be fighting with it and you're going to get frustrated. Little sliver, add it to that. And it's in the center. See, that went from here right into the center. And now the outside piece again into the center. And I like to do it like this, where I flip the piece into the middle and I'm holding it tight before I add my next section. Sometimes people will have it like this and they're trying to add the section before they cross over. And I find that that's when you kind of start losing it. You know, it's easy for it to pull out, or fall out rather. We'll add it in. And we'll add. And I should have one more little chunk here that I can add. Thank you. The fishtail looks good, somebody said. So when you run out of, you see where I got to the bottom of my hairline there, basically. I mean, there's like these little baby hairs, but I basically ran out of hair. So then you're just gonna finish your French braid like a regular braid. I've always had problems with the Dutch braid. Well, the Dutch braid for me, actually, because I learned on my own head, for whatever reason, I think you can grip it a little bit better when you're doing it on yourself. So that was always a little bit easier for me, but here's the regular French braid. And we can do a Dutch. If you were to do the French braid on the top, let me just show you real quick, because I don't know, the person that asked about the French braid didn't specify if they're trying to do it like a regular, you know, if you're going to work out sometimes, or you're a runner. A lot of runners like to wear their hair back off their face. So you would just split it like this, and so you start with one, like you're going to do just a regular braid, and then when you flip that outside piece over, you kind of have to hold your fist on your head and then add that sliver in. And you'll be able to, I don't know if you can see how I'm holding it down, and then if I kind of flip it up, I can feel exactly where that section is, that middle section that has to come over. Flip. And over. And you would just go back like that. It's definitely going to be a little bit more difficult when you get back here. Not necessarily if your hair is short. When I used to wear my hair much shorter, you know, it was super easy. You could still do right down the back of your head. But when it's long, it's just, you get arm pump. All right, so Dutch. Okay, so let's do a Dutch braid. I'm going to start the same way I started that little French braid. I'm just going to take a small section of hair. And again, you can do this on the top as well. So we'll split it in 3. And this time, instead of going over like we did with the regular French braid, we're going to go under. So outside piece under, and it ends up where the middle piece was, and middle's on the outside. Outside piece under, and middle comes to outside. Under. So now we're on our second strand of that. So we're going to add. We'll just add a sliver of hair to that piece that we just put into the middle. Pull it nice and tight. Again, these braids generally, even when my clients say they want a loose braid, I don't start out that way, because it's just going to be a disaster most of the time. If you do it as loose as you think you want it, it's going to fall out. It's going to be a pain in the butt. So better off, sometimes it doesn't even look like a braid, to be quite honest with you. It just looks like a hot mess. But so if you do it a little tighter, so we're going under, under. Can you guys see this good? Thank you. You love the braids. Thank you. I'll put this under. Typically, this is what I sleep with in my hair, either a Dutch braid or a rope braid. I love the rope because it gives actually the waves that I have now. Now, mind you, this is the end of the day. I worked in the salon all day, so it's kind of fallen out a little bit, but the rope braids just give me a really nice soft wave. Okay, so now we're to the bottom of the hairline by my ear here. And same thing, you're just finishing like a regular braid. Thank you. Finishing like a regular braid. Braid, braid, braid. And let me just get to the bottom so I can show you about loosening up. One of my favorite things to do with the braids is actually to mix different types of braids together. You can gather them in a ponytail. See how I'm just lightly, gently pull, pull, pull. Just a little bit on the outside of each section. Loosen it up. And this actually is a great technique. I mean, my hair's thick, so even when I make a small braid, I mean, this is a fairly small section of hair that I made a braid. My braids come out pretty thick, but I know that I had a lot of people saying that their hair is so thin and their braids are so tiny. Really, I mean, yes, I sell products, I sell retail products online and in the salon, but I sell the ones that I believe in. And honestly, the hair powder is unbelievable to help people like bulk up their braids. It's really good also to help it stay. You could put it, in any hair type really, but especially good. Now see how that bulked that up? So I hope that helped. I've done that too, starting Dutch and then turning it into a French or vice versa. Yeah, sometimes, especially when you're doing it on yourself, your fingers get mixed up. But I've done it on clients. You love my glasses. Thank you very much. There's a dollar store. $1. Let me show you the rope braids that I usually sleep in. So I usually just let it fall with the part. And then honestly, rough section, just split my hair in half. And this is kind of similar. I don't know if any of you guys, I'm sure that you watched when they were using the robe tie, and they were putting the robe tie over their head and then twisting the hair around it. I was kind of like, oh, all right, I guess you could do that. But for me, I get twisted and tangled trying to do that. So a rope is just what I've done for forever. So you split your entire head in half, top to front to back. And then you could do multiple with any of these braids. If you were going to set it at night, you can do 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can do 5. If you are going to do it like that, definitely make sure the parts aren't perfect parts, because what's going to happen is when you take them out, it's going to be hard to get those parts to go away, and your hair's going to be splitting and it might be annoying. So I just kind of literally run my fingers down it. Yes, it's basically half, but it's a messy part. And so then we're going to split that half of the head in half again. And this can be a little confusing, so it's kind of like, tapping your foot and doing a circle or whatever those things are, where they're like brain teasers and you try and do these. You're going to twist both sections backwards. So this is going to go back. And when you start with this one's going to go back also. However, to braid it together, you want to make sure that so I guess we're twisting, whatever we're twisting, I don't know. We're twisting clockwise with each section, then we're going to wrap counterclockwise or whatever direction it is. But both sections twist in the same direction backwards and then wrap forwards. So the front one is going to come over, the back one is going to come over the front, I'm sorry. And just continue. As you can see my finger, I just do this. It's kind of like twirling your hair. And then over the front. And it's super easy to do if you think about it as like somebody that just like twists a little strand of hair. You're just going to do it with each one before you pass it over the front. And when I sleep in these to set it, I actually don't use a rubber band at the bottom. And you can do these looser if you want, loosen it up a little bit if you're afraid it's going to come out too like springy. I'm just doing it for the purposes of the video right now, just to give you an idea. I use I use a soft hairband. That's what I use. I use something like this. These soft headbands, and I just kind of, you could use a scrunchie. I just, believe it or not, I'm a hairdresser. I don't own a scrunchie. Does it loosen when you put a hair tie? I'm going to show you right now. So, if you use something like this or a scrunchie, oh, I missed that little piece there, so I would have to do it again if I was like technically setting my hair. We'll pretend that's not there. But this will keep you from getting a band mark and that funky thing at the end. If you do it with a rubber band, you're going to have a dent there, especially when I set it to go to bed, I kind of wet it with my hands slightly, like just barely damp, because you want it to dry. You don't want to set it soaking wet and then you wake up and your hair's still wet. It's not going to do you any good. So I dry my hair, just rough dry it, about, I'm going to say like 95%. It's barely damp. It's almost, so like the only way you can tell it's damp is that it kind of feels a little cold when you touch it, but it doesn't feel wet at all. So to the girl or whoever it was that asked if it comes unraveled when you put the hair tie in, it doesn't if you do it this way. So what I was saying before, if you're twisting backwards the sections and then we were to wrap the sections backwards also, it's going to totally untie. It's just going to unwind. So that's why you want to twist in one direction and wrap in the other. And it's going to take a couple times to figure it out. I always twist backwards because I find that that's more flattering for my face. I'm not a big one to have my hair like all in my face. So, I like to set it or do braids or whatever I'm going to do so that it kind of goes back out of my face a little bit. It would be adorable in pigtails. Actually, I use it a lot for making my buns. So let's see if I can do it without making like an actual section, but I mean an actual bun. But if you, let's see, I'll do it quickly here. So we're turning to the left. We're going to turn this one to the left, this way, and then wrap. Sometimes it's easier to just do this. Let's see if this is going to work. Okay. Typically, I would have ponytailed it first, but then you can, all right, so there's supposed to be a ponytail here. Wrap it around, and you see how that comes out like that? And you can take a couple bobby pins, just pin it down, and then pull at these and make a nice big poofy bun. I love it. I love that, like for half up and half down. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I think I'm going to call it a night for now. But let me know in the comments or on the videos what you want to see, because I'm more than happy to share what I know. And, you know, nothing makes me happier, quite honestly, than when my clients leave the salon and they can duplicate what I did. I mean, it's not going to be exact, but I want people to be able to style their hair and, you know, walk around looking good. Of course, I want to be able to style it better because I'm the hairdresser, but yeah, I love sharing. So have a great night, and I'll be back soon.